Hello everyone, it's SpawnPoiint and here are my top tips and features that I believe every PS5 user should know about, and hopefully some of these will help you out. And if you like gaming and PlayStation videos, please subscribe for more. Okay, so when it comes to searching for games on the PlayStation 5, there are 3 ways you can do it. The first is to manually scroll through all of your content trying to find it. The second is to use the search icon at the top of the screen and then type in some keywords. And the third is to use the voice command feature. So by saying, "Hey PlayStation," it will allow you to ask for a game, an app, and even a few other useful commands. Now this isn't something that's on by default, so unless you enable it, you might not know it even exists. And to switch it on, just go into Settings, Voice Commands, and enable it from here. From now on, every time you say, "Hey PlayStation," you'll get this little icon at the top of the screen. And this is just telling you that it's heard you. Then you can follow it up with a command. So if I said, "Hey PlayStation, search for Helldivers 2," it will bring up this results page where I need to say a number next to the game that I want to view. That will then bring us to the game page. Or if I said, "Hey PlayStation, play Helldivers 2," it would skip the game page entirely and take me straight into the game. There are also some other phrases you can use as well, including return to home, which will obviously take you back to the dashboard, or turn off and it will put your PS5 into rest mode. I'm sure there are far more phrases that you can test out, and hopefully they will add more in the future. So we all know the storage can be an issue on the PS5, and I will cover a tip on SSDs and extra storage later, but this next one could be one that can save you some extra space today. So every single time you get a trophy for a game, it obviously shows you this little icon in the top corner, and that's pretty cool. You cannot beat that trophy popping sound when you're gaming. But what it also does by default is it takes a screenshot and records a very short video clip showing you when you unlocked it. Now if you like to share your photos and videos of your trophies online, this makes a lot of sense. But for the majority of us, this just adds hundreds of extra files in our library that we'll probably never view. And you'll be surprised how much space these screenshots and videos take up. So here's my main PS5 I have in the living room. And here you can see the extra media storage is nearly 220 gigabytes. Of course there are some random clips in here as well, but most are trophy related. Now you could leave these and manually go through and delete the ones you don't need. Or you could go into Settings, Capture, and then Trophies, and then you can select to either not capture anything, capture just the screenshots and not the videos, or even write down to the type of trophies that you want to record. For me, I have no interest in those bronze trophies, so maybe I'll stick with the gold, silver, and platinums, as let's be honest, these will be rarer and the ones I'm more likely to share online. Now you might wonder how big these little 15-second clips actually are. Well, they range from about 20 megabytes to 40 megabytes in size, so if you imagine you've got hundreds or even thousands of these trophies, they will quickly add up. Also, it doesn't matter what extra storage you add to the PS5, because all of the screenshots and videos like this can only be saved to the default internal storage, so it's definitely worth keeping on top of this. Okay, so did you know that every time you turn your PS5 on, the mic on your controller is on by default? Now this is useful if you want to use those voice command features that we've just spoke about, but not so much if you jump straight into a public match and you don't realise your controller is on. So one of the first settings that I ever changed was to auto mute the mic on startup. Fortunately, when your mic is muted on the controller, it's obvious with a little orange LED, so it's not like you would forget that you're on mute when you're talking. But it saves you from embarrassment if you've booted up your PS5 and you're talking to somebody else in your room when a mate jumps into your lobby. So all you need to do is go into the Settings, then Sound, Microphone, and change the microphone status when logged in from on to mute. From now on, every time you turn your PS5 on, the mic will be muted by default. And talking about the mic, if you press the mute button on your controller, it will obviously mute the mic and any compatible headset that you've got. But if you press and hold it, it will mute your mic and all of the audio at the same time. This is useful if you needed to quickly turn off the volume of your TV or your monitor, and instead of looking for and grabbing the TV remote and fiddling around with the buttons, just a quick press and hold of this button and all of your audio is muted. Do the same again and the audio will come back. Oh, and how many times have you been in a party and you just want to jump into the settings of that party? Well, instead of tapping the PlayStation icon on the controller then navigating to the game base, just double tap the PlayStation button on the controller and it will take you straight to your current party. Now when it comes to the storage on the PlayStation 5, there are 2 ways you can add extra storage. The first is the easiest and the cheapest option, and that's to add one of these external SSDs. These just plug into the USB port on the PS5 and can store your games straight onto it. Now the only limitation is you can store and play your PS4 games on it, but you can only store your PS5 games and not play them directly from an external drive. You would then need to transfer your PS5 games back onto the internal storage in order to play. The second option is to install one of these. This is an M.2 drive that you can install into the blank bay inside of the console. Both the original and the newer slim PS5 have these. All you need to do is remove the cover, remove the metal plate and slot it into this bay. And within 1 minute you've added between 1TB and 8TB of extra space. And this is on top of the default storage that's already on the console. So I've got a 2TB drive on this one and a 4TB drive on this one, so there's always enough space for the next Call of Duty update. Now the advantage of using an internal M.2 drive is you can store and play your PS5 games straight from it. There is no need to transfer before playing. But if you do find you play a lot of different games, especially PS4 games, the external SSD might be the better and the cheaper choice for you. Also, my advice would be to use one of these to store all of the games that you're not currently playing, and then as soon as you need them, instead of having to re-download them from the store, just plug in this drive, copy them over, and you're good to go. You can also change the default download location for your PS4 and your PS5 games, so once you've got a drive plugged in, it will give you this option. So you might want to store your PS4 games on the external drive and your PS5 on the internal. So this next feature I actually use all of the time, and that's the wishlist button for the games page. So sometimes a new game will come out and I think to myself, I do want to play it, but right now I just don't have the time. So instead, I just add it to my wishlist. What this does is it not only adds all of the games I'm interested to into one list on the PS5, but it will also notify me when those games are reduced in price. This means I don't need to keep checking back on the store for any sales or discounts, as I'll get notified as soon as it's on sale. Of course, you will need to ensure your notifications are enabled, otherwise you'll never know about it. Also, you are able to add these games to your wishlist via the PlayStation app as well. Oh, and I wanted to mention the review ratings that you can now see on the games. There are no written reviews, but as the ratings can only be submitted by users who own the game, I think this is a good way of seeing what the real gamers think. You can view and add your own for any game that you've bought just by clicking on the review and submitting your star rating. It's a cool way to check which games are performing well and those that aren't. Okay, so how many times have you wanted to boot up your PS5 either early in the morning or late at night, but this sound prevents you? Well, the good news is you can now reduce the volume or disable the beep altogether. This means every time you fire up the PS5, no one will hear it. All you need to do is go into the system settings, then beep, and you can adjust it from here. I've not turned mine off completely as I do like the sound, but it makes you wonder why it was so loud in the first place. So the question is, would you rather have the PS5 in silent mode or are you happy with the beep? So towards the end of last year, PlayStation added the ability to use a second controller for assistance play. Normally when you turn on a second controller and select your account, it will automatically turn the first controller off and it will become the new primary controller. Well, if you wanted to have two controllers on the same account at the same time, you can. Essentially, the second controller will be the assist controller. All you need to do is go into the settings, accessibility, controllers, and use second controller for assistance. Then turn this setting on. From now on, every time you turn a second controller on and choose the same account, both will have control of the game or the home screen. This is perfect if you need to help a friend or a child while playing a game, and it means you don't need to keep passing the same controller back and forth. But it is worth mentioning though that the DualSense Edge controller cannot be used as an assist controller, only a normal DualSense can. There are also a few features that are deactivated, such as the motion sensor, haptic feedback, and the adaptive triggers on the assist controller. Personally, I think this is incredibly useful if you've got children, as you can allow them to play, and if they needed help, you can jump on without needing to take the controller off them. This next one is quite a recent one, and that's the new security features that PlayStation have introduced. Sony just launched the passkey functionality for the PS4 and the PS5. This means you can sign into your account and your console without the use of a password. It is designed to keep your account and your console more secure, and I would highly recommend using it. All you need to do is go to your account management, select security, and sign in with passkey. Essentially, it will make your mobile or your mobile device a trusted device that won't need a password to sign in. It'll also use your Face ID or Touch ID to sign in, which, let's face it, is far more secure. Plus, you don't need to remember your password. And while we're talking about security and privacy, you also have full control over how much you share online. So my advice is to take a look through your privacy settings and just make sure you're happy with everything that you're sharing. My account is actually on full lockdown, so even my friends cannot see which games I'm playing or my trophy list. Also, if you want to appear offline before signing in, press the menu button on your controller on your profile picture here, and you can choose to appear offline before even signing in. You can also do this from the PlayStation app by tapping this little icon and changing how you appear. And talking about the app, if you've not got the official PS app installed, you're really missing out. It gives you so much info about your account and your PS5 that you sometimes don't even need to turn your PS5 on to check certain things. For a start, you can see your full profile, the trophies that you've earned, and the games that you've played. You can even adjust your profile settings in here as well. But you can also view your friends, create, and jump into party chats. So let's say you were running late for that Friday night session with your mates. Well, you could jump into the app and join the party via your phone instead. I've done this before and it works perfectly well while you're rushing to get to the setup. On top of that, you can view the entire PlayStation store on your phone. So search for games, buy them, and as mentioned before, you can even add them to your wishlist. In fact, I think using the app is even easier than the store on the PS5. And any games that you do buy, you can download them straight from the app to your PS5. So tapping a game will give you either the option to download to your console or play if you've already got it installed. And if you were worried you might not have enough space on your console for the next game or the next update, well, you can literally view the console storage including the connected SSDs. So if there was a game that you wanted to delete, you could do this straight from the app. But there's one feature that is massively underrated and not spoken about enough, and that's PlayStation Stars. This launched back in 2022 and it essentially gives you collectibles or tokens that you can use to redeem against games or in-game credits. It's basically a reward system for playing certain games or completing specific challenges, and you can view this in the PlayStation app on your profile page, where it lists any current campaigns and the rewards and your collectibles. So firstly, let me show you the current campaigns. Here we've got one called PS Plus Game Catalog, where we have 29 days left to complete it, and it looks like it's asking us to play these games. Now, I actually already own a couple of these, but as I've not started the campaign, it doesn't actually count. But once we've pressed start, it will trigger the game already being owned, and it will then give us our reward, in this case 50 points. Now, most of these campaigns are simple, like buy or play a game, but others have more than one criteria, like this Foam Stars one. I need to earn 3 different trophies to unlock this collectible. So as you've seen, some of them give us tokens, while others give us these collectibles. And these are basically a virtual trophy that you can display in your virtual cabinet. So under the collectibles tab, I've got some here including the PlayStation Portal, and a trainer here for completing Spider-Man 2. So it's quite cool to see all of these for different games and challenges that you've done. But for me, it's the tokens that are definitely worth going for. So I've got about 5,500 tokens from various campaigns that I've completed, and I can now go ahead and redeem those in the reward section. I can either use these tokens to redeem more collectibles, or I can redeem them against a selection of PS Store rewards. There are in-game credits for things like EA FC, or there are full games that I can buy instead. So for example, there's Cuphead or Moss or even Dredge. I'm hoping we see more games added in the future as more of us add more and more points to our account. And the great thing as well is you can even redeem these tokens against wallet funds. So those 5,000 points that I have are worth about £20, which is literally free money. So yeah, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Stars tab on the app, then have a look through the campaigns and start those easy ones for some free points. And talking of games, if you subscribe to PS Plus, whether it's the Essential plan or anything higher, we get those free monthly games every single month. And my advice is, every time they add the new games to the store, make sure you add those to your library, even if you have no intention today or even this month to play them. Because as soon as you've added them to your library, you will essentially own those for as long as you have an active subscription. Like I've added Roller Drone, which I know I won't be playing anytime soon, but as it's free until early March, I can always come back to it in a few months and play it then. And because I've already added it to my library, I won't need to pay. You know how we have the 11 most recently played games listed on the homepage, and if you happen to have more than 11 installed, as soon as you open the 12th game, it will obviously push the last game off the list. Well, sometimes there are games you always want to play or have quick access to, and once it's bumped off the list, you need to go looking for it. Well, a better way is to pin your favourite games to the home screen. You can actually pin up to 5 games, which means those games will never leave the home screen. All you need to do is press the menu button on that game and select Pin to Home. You can't choose the position or where in the line they sit, but you can at least have them permanently on the list. So I still get asked this a lot, even after 3 years, but do I leave my PS5 in rest mode or do I shut them down completely? And the answer is they are always in rest mode. The reason for this is it's not only that little bit faster for booting up, but it means all of my games are updated before I come to play them. Seriously, there is nothing worse than knowing you've got a couple of hours to play, and as soon as you turn on the PS5, you are hit with a massive update. So my advice is to leave the PS5 in rest mode, but not only that, make sure you have these settings enabled on the PS5. You want to make sure your PS5 is able to connect to the internet and download your games and updates, and it also means you can access the PS5 via remote play. Okay, so you can also control which notifications and pop-ups that you see while you're on your PS5. Of course, it's always great to see new friend notifications or messages coming through, but sometimes you don't want to or need to see that distraction while you're playing. So in the settings, you can drill right down to exactly which notifications you wish to see, either permanently or while you're watching or broadcasting or gaming. Don't forget, if you're using the PS app, you'll most likely get these notifications on there anyway, so you might not need to have these on the console as well. Okay, so that was a look at some of my top tips and favourite features on the PS5. Is there a tip that you would recommend or something that I've missed? Now drop a nice PS5 in the comments and I'll give you a thumbs up for staying right till the end. And if you enjoyed today's video, check out my 10 tips on improving your gaming setup video next. Also, I'm currently working on my full room tour video, which should be coming out over the next week or so. Well, thanks for watching, and if you haven't already, please like, subscribe and follow me everywhere. Until next time.